Hello and welcome to Illuminations with Tina and Fee, for you who desires a life of abundance. I'm Tina, and as it is the guest episode for our May Illuminations, Fee's not here. Instead, I got a lovely guest with me, Siobhan Wilson. And Siobhan, I'm going to read this because otherwise I will mess it up, and I don't want to mess this up. Siobhan. Siobhan is a pioneer of ethical and sustainable fashion and a founder of the Fair Shop in Brighton. Hello, Siobhan.
Hi, Tina.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about community and passion. And I'm thinking you are described as a pioneer of ethical and sustainable fashion. And I'm guessing being a pioneer, there's a huge chunk of passion behind that.
Yes, yeah, it's certainly something that's been evolving and growing over the past, I guess, almost 15 years since I've been involved. And I think passion is the only way you can continue because, you know, as a pioneer, you know, you're seeing a lot of new things happening and experimenting, trying things out. But, you know, we're now at a stage where we're seeing some incredibly exciting innovation.
Fantastic. But can you kind of take us back in time to a time where you kind of felt, you know what, something needs to change. I have this bubbling passion inside of me, or however it happened for you, and I'm going to be a pioneer. I'm gonna be courageous and kind of carve a new path if it was a new path. So what was it that happened in you that made you want to build that?
Gosh, I think that's a difficult question, and I might even have to go further back than 15 years. I guess in the 1980s, there was a lot of coverage with Live Aid about inequality and, you know, the famines that were going on around the world. And I think at that point, I felt very uncomfortable with global inequality and just the difference of lifestyles in Europe and the United States compared with you know, communities in Africa and Asia. So the seed got planted then. I've always been passionate about the environment as well, and I'm not quite sure where that's come from. My mother's from an incredibly beautiful place in Ireland, and I'm always in awe of, you know, natural beauty, and, you know, want that to continue.
Yeah. So seed was planted, and then eventually kind of it grew into what it is today. So can you tell me a little bit about, you know, your Fair Shop and your kind of community behind that, and kind of the thinking behind the kind of ethical and sustainable fashion?
Yeah, I guess I didn't set out with a mission in mind. I had the opportunity to start working with some NGOs, which are non-government organizations, working with people living in poverty in Calcutta, India. And that was through a mutual friend from university. I was fascinated by the work that these NGOs were doing, and at that time I had a career in finance. I just had, I just couldn't stop being fascinated with the skills that I was seeing in the products that my friend that was living in Calcutta was sending out to me here in the UK, and the fact that it was to kind of generate income for people living in poverty. I thought, you know, this stuff is amazing, you know, it's bound to sell, and, you know, let's see what we can do by supporting selling these products. So yeah, that's evolved into me working with an extensive group of people doing similar things in different locations all over the world, in Africa, South America, different parts of Asia, Bangladesh, Cambodia. So I get to see amazing work being done and products coming across all the time.
Fantastic. So it's really a global community working together.
Yes. Yeah.
To lift people out of poverty.
Yes.
Yeah. While having this kind of sustainable thinking behind it.
Yes. I mean, I guess, greatest reason for that is a lot of people living in poverty don't have a lot of resources. So you're using every single resource that you have at your fingertips. So it's normally a combination of things that are surrounding kind of these communities and traditional skills and artisanal skills used to make products.
Fantastic. So it's really tapping, you know, it's not just about then your passion of making this happen in Brighton and kind of selling it. There's passion on so many levels.
Yes.
Then, and kind of, I love that, you know, because you're having to kind of be very innovative. Like, what do we have? What can we use to create something?
Yes. There's some stunning products coming out from things that are traditionally seen as waste materials, but they're transformed into these beautiful objects that you really wouldn't realize had, you know, something that we might discard over here. So
definitely. So what about if somebody has this bubbling passion in them, they kind of go, this is really important for me, whatever it is, you know, it could be any number of things, but they're kind of hesitant in kind of either being the pioneer or joining in because they're a bit insecure. What would you say to them, to get them kind of started and get them involved?
Okay, I guess there's mostly two kind of networks that I'll mention. There's the fair trade movement, which I didn't set out to be involved with, but that seemed to naturally be where we gravitated towards. And a lot of the people I was working with became certified fair trade, as we were also finding our outlets in the UK were through our fair trade networks. Secondly, I guess where we took the direction towards fashion, a movement started 5 years ago, this week actually, which came out of the tragedy at Rana Plaza, where 1,100 people were killed kind of making clothes for the Western world. And it was a call to action. Everyone kind of said enough is enough, and started a movement called the Fashion Revolution. The first year they started their campaign, they had 350 million people participate in 70 countries around the world, to really look at the clothes that people were wearing and just look at the labels and just create a social media campaign that asked brands who made my clothes. So we could start thinking about the farmers that grow the cotton, the manufacturers all over the world that make the things that we wear or use on a daily basis.
So basically is it fairly easy to find out these days then who has made products or clothes? If you go on social media and kind of search for
it? It's still very difficult. And the movement's been very successful in getting the EU engaged, and they've even done talks at the United Nations, but because there's so much complexity in supply chains in the garments that we wear, there's been a call for transparency with all the big brands to kind of declare the factories they're working with, the conditions that people are working in. It's actually the antithesis of what we're doing, whereas we think people and the environment is what we start with. This is kind of starting with the product and looking backwards to look at the people and the environmental impact of the product before we buy it.
So what can a person do then, do you think? Let's say me, if I kind of go, well, you know what, I need to start thinking about this a bit more. You know, I don't want people in miserable conditions, you know, or I don't want people to have to work in miserable conditions so that I can have the latest fashion.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Fashion, well, visit the Fair Shop website. We kind of link in with a lot of kind of activities locally and nationally and even globally around this area. There's the Fashion Revolution website, and they have people in, as I said, 70 countries kind of creating events for people to participate in. And it's really, I mean, the basic question that they want people to ask is for you to ask the people that you buy your clothes from, who made my clothes? So the activity is about just on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, taking a picture of your clothes, tagging the brand and just saying, who's made my clothes? And that will be a call to action for that brand to start really showing that consumers care about the products.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so take a picture with clothes, tag the brand, and kind of go, who's made my clothes?
Who's made my clothes? Yeah.
And then you said the Fashion Revolution website. What's the website address for them?
I think it's fashionrevolution.org.
.org. And the fashion shop, the fair shop?
thefairshop.co.uk, spelt F-A-I-R.
F-A-I-R. Fantastic. Good. We're out of time, Siobhan.
Okay.
It goes so quick.
Yes, it does.
Goes in a flash. Thank you so much for coming on Illuminations and telling us about your passion, and also about how we can get involved in fair trade and in ethical and sustainable fashion and other products as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tina.
And to you who's been watching, thank you so much for watching or listening, as always. Leave us your comments. If you've got any question, just ask those questions. And if you want to, subscribe, and then you'll get a little email saying that when the next Illuminations is up and live. Take care. Bye now.